Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Last Wrestling Podcast, because if I have a wrestling podcast, everybody else in the world does too, and the concept is officially dead. Tonight we're going to be taking a look at Week 2, Night 2, whatever you want to call it, of AEW Fyter Fest. But before we do that, I need to give a shout out to Flame9118, or 9118, however you pronounce it, for a comment they left in the comment section of last week's look at the first night of Fyter Fest, where they explained that the side plates of the TNT Championship that I thought looked like Southern plantations were in fact based on the house of Ted Turner, founder of TNT and, of course, the Turner Broadcasting Empire. And yeah, I looked up the pictures of Ted Turner's house, and that is what they are referencing on the side plates. So, if this title wasn't a kiss up to the network before, it certainly is now, though I'm pretty sure Ted Turner isn't actually involved in the business anymore, assuming he's not actually dead. Hang on a second. To the internet! And mark for edit, turns out Ted Turner, or Robert Edward Turner III, is in fact still alive. He's 81 years old, and born November 19th, 1938, Depression-era child. Wow. At least if Wikipedia is to be believed. So thank you, Flame9118, 9118, however you say it, for the comment, and I hope you are enjoying this week's program as well. And with that, let's get into AEW Dynamite Fyter Fest Night 2. And it looks like we're going to be starting off with the only championship match advertised for this evening, and I guess that might be a ratings thing to counter NXT, but it's still going to be the number 5 ranked tag team who beat a completely unranked team to, very large air quotes, earn a championship match, and they're going to be going up against Omega and Page, and I do not predict a title change, to say the least. And I was right. Okay, a lot of people praise AEW's tag team division, and when it comes to raw talent in that division, I'm not going to disagree. However, this match was a microcosm of everything that is wrong with AEW's tag team division, and why, quite frankly, I think it sucks. Because while they've got a great deal of talent, they have no characters, no stories, no babyfaces, no heels, and, well, okay, that last part's a bit of a stretch. But no character and no story is pretty accurate. And in this match, they didn't even have the great athleticism, video game, move, bang, bang, boom, 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 wrestle, to cover that up, like they did with the Page Omega versus the Young Bucks tag team match that everybody raved about, and I thought was, quite frankly, the drizzling shits. And this match was another one of those, only Private Party. Good God, you guys looked so good at the beginning, and I love your gimmick. I think there's a lot of potential there that at this point is completely untapped. And at the risk of sounding like someone who frankly deserved to be cancelled a long time before he was, quoting Dusty Rhodes, "Don't do shit you don't know how to do." I've said it many times on this show. I am not a wrestler. I have not trained in professional wrestling. I have just enough of a theater background to be dangerous. However, if I can tell your shit is sloppy and you don't know what you're doing, then you need to not be doing it. Okay. As you can tell from the picture, the champions retain, and nothing was accomplished whatsoever except to make Private Party look really bad. Up next, it's the bad boy, Joey Janela, versus I've never been able to say this nickname without laughing. It's the bad boy, Joey Janela, versus the Murder Hawk Monster, Lance Archer. To be quite honest, if I was booking this would be a 30-second squash match. However, Joey Janela, who I admit I've never gotten Joey Janela's act. I know a lot of people like the guy, I just don't get it. And I realize that's probably a problem with me. But Joey Janela has recently formed an on-screen relationship with Sonny Kiss, and that makes Joey Janela interesting by proxy. So, let's see how these two acts that frankly don't belong in the same room together will collide, is the only word I can think of. Okay, here is Sonny Kiss for the purposes of Suzuki-Gun bullshit. I've got some mixed feelings about this match. First of all, it was far longer than it should have been, but they did a good job justifying that. First, in the fact that Lance Archer wanted to do as much damage to Joey Janela as possible because he's a sadistic maniac. That explains why this wasn't a quick in, hit the finisher, 1, 2, 3, go home. But then they started giving Joey Janela offense. You should not be giving Joey Janela a great deal of offense here. And something that just jumped out at me throughout the entirety of the match. Why are good guys in wrestling, or at least situational good guys like Joey Janela, why are good guys in wrestling always stupid? Seriously, anyone who's ever played a paladin in Dungeons & Dragons will be able to tell you, good does not necessarily equal dumb. And Joey Janela has yet to figure this out, because Joey Janela goes for the weapons, the tables, the chair, as you can see in the picture. And did nobody mention to Joey Janela that this was a standard wrestling match? This wasn't a hardcore, lights out, no disqualification, Daily's Place street fight, whatever. No, this was a wrestling match. Why are you doing something that's going to get yourself disqualified, you twit? Speaking of not knowing how to be the good guy, Sonny Kiss decides to do a pretty good-looking 450 splash while the referee's back was turned when Jake Roberts was going for the snake. Or at least the bag that ostensibly contains a snake. I hope it really doesn't. Again, you're supposed to be the good guy. Why are you cheating? No, okay, Joey Janela has shown villainous tendencies in the past, and as previously established, is really stupid. So I get that Joey Janela does something that is against the rules, maybe on instinct, maybe without realizing it. Okay, I can sort of buy that. Sonny Kiss has shown zero heel or rudo or whatever tendencies in the entire time she has been with the AEW roster. And by the way, on the pronouns, Sonny Kiss has said on Twitter, he, him is acceptable, she, her is acceptable, they, them is not. So, okay, fine. Sonny Kiss has shown zero heel tendencies in her time in AEW, so what the actual bleep? In the end, it didn't particularly matter because what's he calling this crucifix iconoclasm thing? It's called the Blackout, which is like the most generic name I've ever heard for a wrestling finisher, but okay. Everybody dies, 1, 2, 3, blah, blah, blah. And I guess this kind of helped reestablish the Murder Hawk Monster as a crazy person, as, watered down Suzuki-Gun. Okay, good. I don't think it was particularly successful, and it made Janela look like an idiot. It made Kiss look like a bad guy, and it made Roberts look incompetent. Up next, we get another sort of avant-garde auteur cinema style of vignette of Darby Allin jumping off of a really high place into a big pool full of foam cubes, which is nowhere near as safe as it looks. So, again, they're building up. They've got something with Darby Allin. And they've got a huge baby face, but again, good. Not necessarily dumb. Oh god, is that going to be my catchphrase? Anyway, up next, Taz is coming out with a big announcement. I'm not entirely sure what that's going to be, so back to the show. Taz comes out with a very championship belt-shaped bag that I thought was going to contain the AEW World's Championship, and that they were doing some kind of New Japan-esque, you caught the flu, so you're stripped of the title argument, which I'm very glad they didn't do, because that would have been way too much like Mr. Brody Lee taking Jon Moxley's belt and doing the stolen belt angle, which I love a good stolen belt angle, but you really don't want to do that 2 title defenses in a row. But that was not the AEW World's Championship. Oh no. That is the brand spankin' new FTW Fuck the World Championship. Okay, I just realized it's the Fuck the World Championship. You know what? I don't care. This is awesome. Taz explains that this is an unrecognized championship, unrecognized by any promotion in the world, but recognized by wrestling fans the world over as belonging to the baddest son of a bitch in wrestling, and right now, that is his man, the Machine, Brian Cage. I say brand spanking new because I do not believe that is the original FTW Championship belt. I believe it's a newly made version. The pictures I've seen, the video I've seen, there were at least two FTW titles back in the ECW days. One was a clearly put together very, very quickly and very cheaply, and the other was a little more fancy, and that's what this one looks like. But I believe the colors are a bit different, and I don't know if the original had the middle finger on one of the side plates, but this one apparently does. That's going to be fun getting through the TNT sensors. I like this. I love this. I think this is fantastic. Cage now only the 3rd person to ever hold the FTW title after Taz himself and Sabu, who, according to Wikipedia, was legitimately pissed off that Taz's name was permanently on the belt, so he covered it up with duct tape and magic marker. Ha! This is something AEW is very good at doing, and I will give them unqualified praise for this, and that is respecting the history of professional wrestling. This is something that was a one-note story from 20 plus years ago. Like Taz says, he created this decades ago. And as the last man to ever hold it, it makes sense that he would have the right to bequeath it to somebody that he feels worthy, and that's obviously Brian Cage, and understandably. And I think, at least from my perspective, this does elevate Brian Cage. This worked! Brian Cage is the Fuck the World champion. That makes him an unqualified badass. This is good. Not entirely sure this makes him a heel, but you know what? I'm not even going to quibble. FTW Championship is back in professional wrestling, and I am a happy little mark. Up next, it's the 8-man tag team Atomicos match that was thrown together at the last minute because WWE exposed Jon Moxley's wife to coronavirus, and now he has to self-quarantine for 14 days. Screw you, Vince. I absolutely loved this match. Yes, it was another high-octane, boom, 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 boom spot fest like the championship match at the beginning of the night, but unlike the championship match at the beginning of the night, this was, depending on your definition, between 4 and 8 great wrestlers who know what they're doing, know how to have this kind of match, and, more importantly than anything else, know how to tell a story with it. Something that's been bugging me for a while has been what I call the paradox of FTR. FTR have been generally portrayed as heels. They use dirty tactics, they will exploit the rules even when they don't out and out break them, and their general conduct is as a couple of cocky jerks. However, everything about their character means that they should be babyfaces. Their gimmick, their entire persona is, we are good wrestlers who are good at the wrestling. We are a great tag team that follows the rules and respects the traditions of tag team wrestling, and therefore we're the bad guys. It doesn't make sense. It has never made sense. Outside of Vince McMahon, who has just a multi-decade-long tenure of hating tag team wrestling, so that that did kind of make sense. But it wouldn't make sense in AEW, where presumably, at least the people who are running this thing, being wrestlers themselves, are wrestling fans. But tonight, AEW found the solution to the paradox of FTR. Rivals! Japanese-style rivals. Someone that you do not get along with, you do not like, but whose skill is equal or better than your own, and whose skill you respect. Someone that can push you as you will push them, each pushing the other to be better and better and better, to try to prove to themselves, to each other, to the world, who is better. And I think modern day flippy shit spot fest wrestling versus old school grab the tag rope style tag team wrestling, that is a perfect canvas, a perfect palette for a great Shonen Jump, Goku, Vegeta, Naruto, Sasuke style of rivalry. I absolutely effing love this. And they had a great step towards that in this match. This picture of the handshake I've been showing the whole time, here's what happened right before it. Inadvertent kick from the tag team partner costs the team the match. Victory to the Lucha Brothers and Butcher and the Blade. And by the way, most of this match was basically just the Lucha Brothers showing off, and I am not going to object to that. That was always beautiful to watch. But back to the handshake. It was no hard feelings. Mistakes happened, and they didn't blow up into a fist fight. Because there's respect there. Maybe there shouldn't be. Maybe they're too different. But maybe they see in each other a dedication to being the best tag team in the world. And maybe, just maybe, one of them will be able to prove that they are. Outside the arena, Big Swole is served with suspension documents on AEW letterhead, spitting out of an angle on a previous episode of Dynamite, wherein she committed multiple felonies, and therefore temporarily doesn't get to be a pro wrestler. Okay, cool. She's the good guy, by the way, just letting you know, she's the babyface in all this. Up next, my girl, the native beast, Nyla Rose, my favorite wrestler in AEW, is in a handicap match, and this should be fun. And it was indeed fun. This is what they needed to have been doing. If they're not going to make her the initial champion, this is something they should have been doing with Nyla Rose pretty much from the very beginning. Just line people up and let her knock them down and be this absolutely dominant beast that she is very good at being. This was great. The 2-on-1 thing allowed and completely justified the two jobbers getting a little bit of offense in because it was 2-on-1. But in the end, almost 95% offense from the native beast and an easy victory. Nyla gets on the microphone and announces that she has hired a manager, which is a great idea because, as she is in the process of proving, promos are not her strong suit yet. Like many things with Nyla Rose, I believe she will improve with time, and having a coach, both in character and in real life, would probably be a good idea. I am personally hoping that it's somebody of Native American heritage, or First Nation heritage as it's said in Canada, that would lead to a little more representation, or maybe even a trans character. She never gave any clue as to who it was. That was kind of the downside of this segment, is the big announcement from Nyla Rose is that she'll make a big announcement at some point. I bloody hate that. At least she didn't say, you people don't deserve to know who my manager is, because that is always code for the writers haven't figured it out yet. This at least had the veneer of a plan. Cautiously optimistic, but optimistic nonetheless. We cut back to earlier today in the trainer's room where, oh, that looks painful. Colt Cabana with a very bad-looking bruise, and I am not an expert on theater makeup, so it is possible that that is artificially created. It's also really possible that it isn't. But either way, that looks bloody nasty. The trainer clears Cabana to wrestle. Mr. Brody Lee comes in and tells him to get ready for their trios match coming up. And I think the whole point of this segment, as he stands up still clutching his injured side, Colt Cabana says, "Yes, Mr. Brody." He's drinking the Kool-Aid. And for some reason, that made me want to do my Swedish Chef impersonation. "You're drinking the Kool-Aid." And I'm not going to do that because it's horrible. Match time. And the recruitment to the cult continues. Colt Boom Boom Cabana being offered the opportunity to make the cover, win the match for his team. And I think they are about to become his team officially. Wouldn't surprise me if we do see Colt Cabana under the mask at some point in the future, which would be interesting. Because with one very, very notable exception many years ago, we haven't really seen Colt Cabana do anything other than the Colt Boom Boom Cabana character most of the time. He did, I think, a cop in Lucha Vavoom, and of course the thing I just referred to, which is he's the original portrayer of Matt Classic. So, Colt has range, and I think we might be getting to see that. But what I love about this is wrestling is a great canvas for telling different kinds of stories through symbolism. Joining the Dark Order, this is nothing different. The recruitment methods of the Dark Order are no different than any other real-life cult, or quite a few, quite frankly, real-life religions. That they kill you with kindness. They give you gifts. They make you feel welcome. They make you feel loved. They make you feel like they have all the answers. And then they snap you at the bite model and start controlling your behavior, information, thoughts, and emotions. At which point, they own you. So I think we're going to see a lot of that sort of play out with the Dark Order and Colt Cabana, and that's a great combination for that. The Dark Order was considered for a while the biggest failure of AEW, aside from possibly the Nightmare Collective, and I think they really are on the path to turn this around. Next, we see that Big Swole has snuck back into the tapings, which is kind of creepy on several levels, and throws a wadded up piece of paper at bodyguard woman here, which causes her to jump back like something out of a really bad tokusatsu and nail Britt Baker in the nose with her back fist. And that looked absolutely ridiculous. It's a paper ball. You didn't throw a baseball at her. You threw 2 or 3 pages of crumpled up paper with maybe a crumpled up envelope inside. And she jumps back like she just got hit in the face by a rider kick. What? This is ridiculous. But hopefully much less ridiculous will be our next match. That's a segue for you. It's time for the main event of the evening. Freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy versus Le No Longer Champion, Chris Jericho. And I admit, I've really been looking forward to this. One of my favorite wrestlers of all time that I've been following for at least 10 years now, going up against a legend that I genuinely respect in and out of the ring. So I am very much looking forward to this main event. What can I say? If you get it, you loved this. If you don't get it, I can't explain it to you. That was a wonderful match. I genuinely believed that either they were going to give the win to Orange Cassidy, or, more likely, since this match was announced as one fall or television time remaining, I thought this was going to go to a television time limit draw, and maybe have a rematch next week at Fight for the Fallen. Am I going to cover that? Yeah, probably. But wow, that was... I knew he had it in him. I've seen this man, whatever name he goes by, I have seen Orange Cassidy put on some of the best wrestling matches I've ever seen. And he's in the ring with one of the smartest wrestlers in the world. There was no way this was going to be anything but brilliant, and it absolutely was. This deserved to be barring the title match, this deserved to be the main event of night 2 of this pseudo pay-per-view. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Loved it. Wish it had gone to the time limit draw, but as you can probably tell here, Judas effect with literally 60 seconds left in the broadcast, and victory for Le Champion. Final thoughts. First on night 2, a lot more good than bad, quite frankly. Stellar main event, newsworthy resurrection of the FTW title. The couple of the multi-man matches were really good. Storyline progression with multiple angles, but there was a little bit of fat here. You didn't need the Darby Allin thing. The big Swole stuff, okay, I get what you're doing with this. It was just done obscenely badly, and I kind of the Darby Allin stuff. Do you really need that? A lot of this is making him look bad, quite frankly. Maybe it's making him look cool. I don't know. Let me know down in the comment section below. Do you think Darby Allin is cool, jumping into a whole bunch of foam cubes and doing a whole bunch of skateboarding tricks? Does that legitimately make him cool? Does that work for this character? The opening tag team title match was a little bit embarrassing, and good evidence on my theory that Kenny Omega is exactly as good as whoever he's in the ring with. Put him in the ring with someone who's a once-in-a-generation talent, and Omega will rise to be a once-in-a-generation talent. Put him in with some guys that are still learning their craft, to be as polite as I possibly can, and Omega will come off as a clueless rookie. So what did the show feel like overall? This was an excellent 2.5 hour pay-per-view stretched out over 4 hours of television minus commercials. And it fell into the 2-night show trap that we've now seen Wrestle Kingdom and WrestleMania fall into, where night 1 serves primarily as build for night 2. I'm not sure if that's necessarily a fixable problem. And worse, they had to fill. There were matches on this show that did not belong there, especially on a pay-per-view caliber card. There were matches on this show that were, quite frankly, television-worthy at best. A pay-per-view was supposed to be either major beats in a story, or it's supposed to be the culmination of one story and the beginning of another. This, while there were story beats in some cases, nothing really felt like it concluded on either of these shows, and nothing, actually, now that I think about it, nothing really feels like it started on this show, except maybe Nyla Rosen's going to have a manager. It's funny to think that not that long ago, one of my biggest complaints about AEW was that they tended to blow through 6, 8, 12 months of storyline in about 90 minutes. Now, it seems like everything's in a holding pattern until they can get back to having live crowds. Well, guess what? America has decided that, 2 Vietnams worth of dead people, and still counting and still increasing, is worth it. Or at the very least, not worth the inconvenience of, giving a crap about anybody but yourself. So, yeah, there's not going to be live wrestling in the United States for a very long time, and honestly, I would be shocked if either AEW or WWE maybe WWE because they're they get to break the law, but I'm sad now. I wouldn't be surprised if live wrestling doesn't return to the US until 2021, if not maybe even 2022. That's how badly this has been screwed up. But that is looking into the future. For right now, final grade for AEW Dynamite Fyter Fest Parts 1 and 2, A-. And a lot of that is on the back of the main event of Night 2 and the excellent Jurassic Express versus Wardlow MJF match on Night 1. And everything else was just good enough to get by, and some of it was really, really good. Some of it was garbage, but the highs were high enough that it justifies a high grade. I'm Ryu Sensei, thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, enable notifications, all that happy fun YouTube stuff. And I know it's about a week late, but I don't care. Happy Canada Day!